Today we're going to cover rational expressions, so take out your notebooks and copy down the title and the essential questions. And you can go ahead and hit pause. And today we're talking about excluded values. So these are values that make the denominator 0. So copy this down. Again, hit pause. And here's our first example. Write down the entire thing. State the excluded values of that expression. Now the excluded values is anything that would make the denominator 0. So b plus 7 equal to 0. That we need to exclude because we can never divide by 0. It's okay if we have the numerator 0, but the bottom cannot be 0. So we would just solve this, drop down our line minus 7, and we get b equals negative 7. Okay, my headphones just died, so I had to go and restart it. I don't really remember where we were at. I think we came to the conclusion that our excluded value is when b is equal to negative 7. So we'd say the excluded value is negative 7. So we can never have negative 7 as one of our answers. Okay, let's take a look at this one. What is the excluded value? The excluded value is anything that makes the denominator 0. Well, in this case, to figure out what would make that 0, we need to factor it. And think about our t-chart. What adds to negative 1 but times to 12? So think about that option. And hopefully we figured out 3 times 4. One of them has to be negative, and we'd make the 4 negative. So we do a plus 3, a minus 4. And then we take each one separately, equal to 0. And so the first one, a is 3. The second one, a is positive 4. So the excluded values are negative 3 and positive 4. Okay, go to your left page and try this one out on your left page. The sub can hit pause, and then we'll press play once everybody is done. All right, the excluded value is y plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3 on both sides, and the answer is B, negative 3. Okay, try another one over there. Again, try this on your left page. The sub can hit pause and then play again once everyone's done. So this one we'd have to factor to figure out what the denominator is going to be to make it 0. So what adds to negative 5 but times to 6? 3 times 2, both of them negative. X minus 3, x minus 2. So the first one's going to give us an answer of positive 3. The second one's going to give us an answer of positive 2. And so the answer is C. Okay, then we have another one. This is on your right page. So copy down the problem. Which expression is equivalent? That's just simplifying again. So 32 divided by 4 is 8. We have 5 x's on the top, 1 on the bottom, so they'd cancel out. We'd have 4 left on the top, 2 y's on the top, and 7 on the bottom. We have y to the 5th left on the bottom. So C is our correct answer. Now, if we wanted to talk about the excluded values for this, we would have to say the excluded values equal, oh, let's rewrite this, I need more space. The excluded values are when x equals 0 or when y equals 0. Because if you put either of those 0, the denominator would end up being 0. Okay, go to your left page. You try simplifying this one down. Again, hit pause and then play once everyone's done. Okay, so if we simplify 60 over 18, that's going to make 10 over 3. The a's, we have 3 a's on top, 1 on the bottom. When we cancel, we get 2 left on the top. And the b's, we have 2 on top, 1 on bottom, so we have 1 left on the bottom then. So that makes C the correct answer. Okay, back to the right page. So simplify this and state the excluded values. So let's first find the excluded values. That's always a good idea to do that first, because the work we're going to do will help us out later on. So what works here? Our t-chart. So what multiplies to 36? 9 and 4. If I make 9 negative and 4 positive. Okay, so first of all, our excluded values are going to be positive 9 and negative 4. Okay, now to simplify this, we're going to factor both top and bottom as much as we can and see if anything cancels out. Well, we already did the bottom. X minus 9 and x plus 4. Now look at the top. Is there anything that they have in common? Hopefully you saw that they both have a 4. So we pull out a 4 and then parentheses what's left over. Divide a 4 out of the first one and you get x. Divide a 4 out of the second one, 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now if we look at that expression, we look to see is there anything that could cancel from top to bottom. And those two cancel out. So the simplified form of that is going to be 4 over x minus 9. Now notice that even though the x plus 4 part canceled out, it still is part of the excluded value. Okay, go to your left page. Try this problem out. The sub can hit pause again and then play when everyone's done. Okay, I'm going to start by factoring the bottom. I've got W, what adds to 6 but times to 16, 8 and 2. But I have to make the 8 positive and 2 negative. So the excluded values are going to be negative 8 and positive 2. Okay, so we know it can't be C or B. Now at the top, the numerator, they have a 5 in common. What's left over is a W minus, and we divide out 5 out of 10, and you're left with 2. So those two will cancel out, and we're left with 5 over W plus 8. A is our correct answer. Okay, back to your right page. So now we are working with leverage. So suppose an Egyptian worker finds a rock that he cannot move with the 6-foot bar. So he grabs an 8-foot bar, but this time he places the fulcrum so that the effort arm is 6 feet long and the resistance arm is 2 feet long. Explain whether he has more or less mechanical advantage with his new setup. Okay, so I believe it says in the book that, let's draw our picture again. There's our rock. There's our Egyptian. Here's our fulcrum. In the book, it's 6 feet long total. And it's placed 2 feet from it. So what is the mechanical advantage here? Or let's look at our formula that's written down below here. And that says we take the effort arm divided by the resistance arm. And I think this picture up here is actually wrong. The whole thing is 8. So that means that the effort arm is 6 feet. So in the picture up here, we would take 6 divided by 2, meaning that he can triple the amount of weight that he can move. But over here, the entire thing was 6 feet long, so this section was only 4. So that is 4 divided by 2. This time he can only double the amount that he can lift. So he has more mechanical advantage because he can now triple it rather than just double it. If the worker can apply 180 pounds of force, what is the greatest weight that he can do? So 180, and he can triple it, so you just take 180 times 3. So I think that comes out to be 540 pounds. LBS is the abbreviation for pounds. Okay, go to your left page. This time they're using a 5-foot bar as a lever, and the fulcrum is 1 foot away from the rock. So make sure that you realize the whole pole is 5 feet long. And from here to here is 1 foot. Make sure you figure out what this section is. Okay, so go to your left page, try this one out. The sub can hit pause and then play again when everyone's done. So hopefully you figured out that that's 4. So it's 4 divided by 1, which is 4, which means he can quadruple the weight that he can lift. All right, so 200 pounds. Oops, sorry, you have to go to the left page. I was going to solve that one. Go to the left page again and try this one on your own. The sub can hit pause. Okay, this time 200 pounds times 4, because that's what we figured out in the last problem, is going to be the correct answer is C. Okay, that is it for the lesson. So you can write either your questions or your summaries, or you can start working on homework number 2.